What is up, people? You are listening to New Generation Hero Talk. I am your host, EJ Stewart. We have a great show lined up today. We got a lot to talk about. We've been off for a little bit. I had a honeymoon. I got sick. A lot of stuff went down for the last 3 weeks. I was traveling. But we're back talking more heroes. We got a lot to get to on this show, including the big reveal for Marvel's X-Men. We now have a release date. We have a real cast, not rumors, not reports, but we have actually confirmed cast members for the upcoming X-Men movie that we now know will drop May 2028. All of this stemmed from the D23 presentation that happened from Marvel just last week. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about what's been going on with the Avengers newest drop that we just saw for Doomsday. They had a first look. I believe this is a look that probably people saw at San Diego Comic-Con that now we all got to see this past week. We'll break that down. We'll also talk about a new release date for Ghost Rider. We know that movie's also coming out in 2028. 2028 setting up to be a pretty big year for Marvel, so we'll discuss that. And we have an episode to discuss, a new show to discuss. DC entering the chat. Lanterns is out. First episode, the pilot debuted last night on HBO Max, so we got to get to that. So, excuse me. So this is going to be a fun one. Your boy EJ Stewart. Again, we got a lot to talk about in the show. Joining me are my hosts, including Shamari Stewart. Now, Sham, one of the big things we've had to discuss that we haven't gotten to because of the thing of me being sick and traveling and everything has been the great success that Spider-Man Brand New Day has been. Spider-Man Brand New Day has already crossed the $2 billion threshold. It set multiple box office records. Now we did not do a full review. We will probably have one within the coming weeks to still have the review of Spider-Man so we can talk about it. But what has been your take and what was your thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day and just the hoopla that kind of came about it?
Yeah, I mean these Spider-Man movies, particularly these Tom Holland Spider-Man movies seem to always hit. There hasn't been a single flop so far. I mean, I think the closest one to that was Far From Home, but no one from what I can tell, no one was really really disappointed with Far From Home. And I really enjoyed Far From Home as well.
I think Far From Home was
But
underrated.
yeah, yes. But yeah, no, this movie is great. I personally thought it was a great movie. Definitely a success. I mean, clearly it's a box office success. People I talk to that are familiar with these movies, with these Spider-Man movies, saying a lot of them saying, this is their favorite, maybe behind just that Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2.
Hmm.
I mean, we're talking that is in a lot of people's Mount Rushmore of superhero movies, and so this is very, very high praise
No question.
that people are giving both fans and then also just casual people, that are familiar with these characters from just the general kind of culture of all the X-Men and Jean Grey, Peter Parker and stuff. Yeah, everyone I've spoken to about this movie has loved it or said it was good. I thought it was very good. Yeah, I probably need at least a rewatch before I can start ranking um, where exactly it would fall. I'd also have to rewatch the Holland movies because they're all Far
I
From
did.
Home.
I made sure. I made sure I
Um,
watched all three before. Oh, actually, I mean myself. Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, I made sure I watched all three prior to when I watched this other one, and it gave me a greater appreciation for the first three. But it also made this one stand out because it's so different than the first three.
mhm, it is. Um, and yeah, I also have to do a rewatch so I can kind of get that view as well. I have to say I remember particularly liking Homecoming and being very surprised at how much I liked Homecoming. But um, but yeah, I thought the movie was great. I think it's deserved. The success it's gotten is well deserved, and all credit to Marvel, Sony as well, and Dustin Daniel Cretton as well, and Holland and Zendaya and the whole everyone involved for making such a great
Yeah, no doubt, man. And Kendall joins us as well. Kendall, I'm sure you also were a fan of the Spider-Man movie, one of the big things that came out of it, now we know because of the casting with the X-Men, was Sadie Sink now officially being revealed as Jean Grey. So how did you feel how that was handled? And what did you think of the entire movie?
Yeah, I mean that was obviously a huge deal. Something we talked about for over a year, basically on this podcast was the possibility of Sadie Sink playing Jean Grey. And in terms of how it landed, I mean, certainly, look, the movie again crossed $2 billion. From a business standpoint, I think Marvel couldn't have handled this any better. If you're talking about rolling out the X-Men and putting Sadie Sink in this movie, we'll talk about the cast later, but it's certainly going to help quite a bit that they've, positioned her in this way. Look, the execution's been very controversial, right? I think there's no doubt about it. Um, I think we had a lot of questions about, okay, is there a secret villain here? And of course, obviously we're delving into spoilers at this point, but like, is there a secret villain in this movie, or is there some sort of, um, you know, there's some sort of twist that we're not expecting? And I think you're kind of we all had the experience of sitting in that movie 30 35 40 minutes in, you're like, okay, it's got to be some sort of twist here, because this is getting really like dark. And then there really wasn't, right? And I think that was probably the biggest shock of the movie. But I mean, look, Sadie Sink did an excellent job with the character they gave her. I think the big question is just going to be now the rehabilitation of that character. um, but for the reality of the movie, I think the movie is great. I think Tom Holland was probably put forth his best performance. It's I think the best Peter Parker centric story. Again, there's some questions about was the third act maybe hijacked a little bit by Jean Grey. You could make that argument. um, but again, it was such a great performance from him. I thought even the inclusions of Ruffalo and Bernthal as
Oh
Banner
yeah,
and Frank Castle were incredible. I mean, Bernthal is just like a superstar in that Frank Castle role.
yep,
And I think it really does show you like that a TV. I know we're in this era now of this purge of these TV shows, right? Who knows what's going to happen with Daredevil going forward, but certainly, obviously, Wonder Man just got canceled, and
yep,
it seems like Marvel's like no more live action television going forward. But it shows you that like a character like Bernthal in Punisher that was made for TV initially could translate onto the big screen in the biggest Marvel movie, frankly, ever made. That's not an Avengers movie, and it play. I mean, him be one of the standouts, even bigger than Hulk. So
yeah.
I think that there still is a future for Marvel television. I think that's one of the takeaways I had from this movie. But overall, again, great movie. Again, some strange, I think, decisions with some of the, the how they wanted to set up the villain and everything. I also thought Tremel Tillman was excellent as Bill Metzger. I
He
thought that was a
was,
great
yeah.
character as well. I mean, just great performances all around. And again, smart play certainly by setting up Jean Grey for the X-Men.
Yeah, no question. I love the movie. This is definitely one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. To me, what endeared me to this movie, and this will be fun for you guys because I always talk about how I'm the biggest Spectacular Spider-Man fan. I think that is by far the best animated show. But this movie to me felt like the best version of what the '90s animated Spider-Man animated series was. Like to me, this felt like a great 3-4 episode arc of Spider-Man the animated series, and they brought it to the movies. And it's funny and it's ironic because I talked about how when I was doing my research for this story and wanted to see the Punisher Spider-Man crossover from that cartoon and how it coincided with all of the gene mutant stuff that Spider-Man was going through in that cartoon. I said, I think this is kind of going to be your layout for what this is going to be. And that stunk. Like that episode stunk. It was not great. I was like the whole Spider-Man not knowing what's happening, he's mutating. Like that was not great stuff. But like to me, it's almost like I felt like Destin watched that and said, okay, this is a good foundation for something. Maybe they didn't execute the greatest, but how can I build on this in a much more profound way and make it more contemporary with the problems that young men deal with loneliness and all those things, and coinciding with the story that was already laid out in the first three movies by Watts. I love the movie, man. We definitely gonna have to have a longer, in-depth chat about it, but I've been pleasantly surprised at just how massive the box office has been, only because so many people kept telling me about superhero fatigue and how much they didn't care to watch more superhero movies, and yet Spider-Man seems to be the thing that crosses over in a way that doesn't matter. I don't know how you felt about it, but to me, seeing these $2 billion, like I don't know, I wasn't expecting this to challenge an Infinity War and Endgame when it came to box office numbers. That's not what my thought process was. I
No,
know
I
this is
mean
the
we talked
fourth
about
movie
it.
in an installment, but like I've heard so much apathy about movies right now in terms of the superheroes, Marvels,
Yeah,
and DC. I did not at all expect this. So, any thoughts as to why this succeeded so well or so successfully?
I mean we talked about the marketing campaign for this movie, which felt very muted. It felt kind of basic, and we were like, we really don't even know what this movie's about. I guess Hulk's in it. I guess Punisher's in it, but they're not really. And I guess he's maybe mutating, but like they're not telling you a lot about this movie, and there's not a lot in this based off what they've shown us. And
I
of
mean, the
course, we
biggest
obviously
selling
knew the
point, they
Jean Grey.
basically didn't sell. Like
Yeah,
it
they
was a
didn't.
it
Yeah,
was
they
a it
didn't
was a
want to use the Jean
rumor.
Grey thing, and I,
And
I think that again shows you the power of Spider-Man, right? Like
yeah,
yes, like the Marvel people were in on the Jean Grey thing, but I don't think the casual, you don't get to 2 billion on people like I got to see if Jean Grey's in the movie, right? Like it's not quite the same as the Spider-Man is Tom Holland is Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in this movie, because they were showing all the old villains was like even a casual could have saw that and been like, oh,
and
maybe I wonder if Tobey
maybe,
Maguire is in
yeah,
it,
yeah,
or I
maybe,
wonder what's
right,
going here, like um this, like, yeah, they like were like, yeah, Hulk, Punisher, and Spider-Man movie, and mysterious somebody doing something, and we don't know what the villain is. And obviously,
yeah,
again, the hardcore people knew there was Jean Grey, but and it still made 2 billion, right? So again, they're certainly gonna do an autopsy of this. If you're Marvel, if you're DC, if you're Lucasfilm, I'm sure anybody doing these kind of tentpole, big budget,
yeah.
big brand movies, IP movies, you have to do an autopsy of what factors led to 2 billion. To me, I think the closest comparison of a franchise running currently that I think you should feel good about this is Matt Reeves' Batman.
Yeah.
I kind of think Matt Reeves' Batman is going to have a similar juice. There's a
I also wonder about Man of Tomorrow a little bit.
I'm skeptical on Man of Tomorrow. I mean, we'll talk about Green Lantern. I think that's certainly going to help
Yeah.
some of the buzz. But with, with we saw when Reeves did the tweets of the cast, like just super viral, right? It was almost like the Doomsday chairs, and it was
Right.
reminding me of when they started filming Spider-Man Brand New Day, and like any like Tom Holland being out in the streets and whatnot was going mega viral on
Yeah.
social media. It was just like you saw, like, man, this Spider-Man thing still has motion. We don't even know what this movie's about, and so yeah, I think Warner Brothers like should feel good. And again, Pattinson's also like at this point he's just white hot in terms of you know obviously just being in the Odyssey, and then now he's going to be in this Chris Hansen movie, and I think he's also in Dune at the end of the year, and then he's going to roll that right into the Batman in 2028. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that movie's going to do a lot of me. I don't know if it'll do 2 billion, but I think it might do 1 billion. It didn't do 1 billion last time because of COVID, but I think that movie might do 1 billion.
Yeah, Shamar, any last thoughts on Spider Man and just the success that you saw and why you feel like it might have happened?
Man, I mean, I think a lot of it is the character.
Mm.
Um, the character, the I think the it's probably going to be a lot of things. I think partially also the success of the last movie and how successful that was. How great Far From Home, not Far From How great No Way Home was, and like how notable that was, and that you know how Tom Holland really kind of planted his flag, so to speak, after that as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Um, And then I think the and while there people have said, oh yeah, there's superhero fatigue and whatnot, I think there also was a bit of a clamoring for, hey, some of these superhero movies and superhero shows and stuff have been hit or miss, and I like this, I didn't like that, and Spider-Man is a pretty steadfast,
Right. There's no
people
risk.
pleaser. There's no
Yeah.
risk with
It's got
that.
it's
There's no
got a
You
risk.
high
can
it's got
bring
a high,
your
it's got a high batting average.
Yeah.
yeah, you can bring your family,
Yeah.
you can bring your whatever, and it's in the
Right. If I'm
summer,
gonna
and
see a superhero movie, I'm gonna see that one. Right. That one and
yeah,
Batman, Avengers, like it's on that level.
right. So yeah, Spider-Man, and I agree with you. Kind of Batman is another character that kind of has that kind of like potential to just bring the family. Just we're gonna go see Batman. Oh, Batman, let's go see Batman, and then everyone just goes to see Batman.
Now again, the
So
difference with Matt Reeves' Batman, we'll see how they market it, but it's still marketed very like super serious and dark. Like it
yeah,
doesn't
very
have
adult. Yeah,
they're not doing like let's throw you the Hulk and let's throw you Punisher and of course
right.
Punisher's not like a kiddie character, but like you throw you all these things that to make you want to go see the movie. Like if it did that, yeah, maybe it does get maybe it does get 2 billion. I don't know,
Right.
but like this had that had the fact that it's Spider Man. Then again, you throw in the Hulk and all this other stuff, and I also think that Tom Holland's Zendaya star power, like
Yeah.
independent of the Spider Man
Hmm.
thing, absolutely
Yeah,
plays a factor. And of course, Marvel
Yeah.
helped build those those actors into stars, into superstars, but they've gotten so big independent of their characters and them also being I think a couple is also
No,
added to
definitely.
like the buzz. There's just so much that plays into this that like if you're if you're Sony, if you're a suit inside Sony or inside Marvel Studios, you're like, man, this thing is like again, I don't know if it can be replicated. Like I think this is like a
Mm.
kind of a harmonic convergence of factors to turn this into a $2 billion property.
Yeah, there's no question the Zendaya Holland dynamic is an absolute moneymaker. And something my wife was telling me about was like, not that they already know, but she's like, listen, like Zendaya and Holland are like, there's approval rating is so high of them as a
So
tandem
high.
that for them to be in the same movie, like, it doesn't matter what it is. There's going to be just a faction of their fans that's just going to show up regardless, even if they don't even love Spider-Man, but they love Zendaya
I
or
mean, I think
whatever.
that played into like the Odyssey hype. Like Zendaya
Definitely.
is kind of barely in that movie, but
Just
they
the
made sure
idea
to
of
get her in
Holland
there.
and Zendaya are in it is like enough. It's like, all right, yeah, I'm showing up. So
Yeah,
no, there's no question about that, man. We're definitely gonna have a full breakdown of Spider-Man, Spider-Man Brand New Day, a full review. I know we didn't have that again. It was a weird. It's been a weird 3 weeks. Typically, we us. We usually right on top of these reviews, but weird 3 weeks didn't allow us to get a review out. But we will have one out, and we'll do a full breakdown of Spider-Man Brand New Day. We're not gonna change you guys to that, but gotta shift gears because big news happened at Disney D23, and it began with the news that we now have an official release date for the X-Men. We made it, guys. We finally made it. We finally made it. X-Men will debut May 5th, 2028, and now we have also key cast members already revealed. Now we've had these rumors and reports that came out over the coming weeks leading up to D23 about people that were being picked for these roles. Then we got the official word from D23 when they came out on stage and saluted the people. So you got Kit Connor playing Scott Summers Cyclops. You got Christopher Abbott playing Charles Xavier. Samara Weaving playing Emma Frost. Indy Navarrete playing Rogue, and Maya Boyd playing Storm. Of course, you have Sadie Sink playing Jean Grey, and someone who was not there in person but was there via video. We got the confirmation of Adam Driver, who will indeed be playing Mr. Sinister, Nathaniel Murray. So, toss it over to Kendall first. Kendall, your overall thoughts on the release date, the cast, wherever you want to take it. Let's get into it.
yeah. I mean, I think that I think that this cast concerns me a little bit. If I'm being honest,
Whoa!
I think this cast
Concern.
concerns me a little bit.
Why?
I mean, look, we've been waiting for this day for so long. I'm not gonna sit here and totally complain that oh no, the Marvel botched it, or they, we're getting the X-Men. I don't want to see this. Like, of course, we are super excited to be getting um, the MCU version of the X-Men uh, in almost any way, shape, or form. But I think obviously this cast, if you guys remember when we got the first reports that Marvel was looking at a Sadie Sink type to play Jean Grey before she was even attached to Spider-Man Brand New Day, I was like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. This is too young. They're skewing too young for me. And of course, obviously, we got it in Brand New Day. And again, I think there was some good and some bad, but overall, I think she did a good job. And I think they probably hit the nail on the head for that role. But I still, when I look at this cast, it feels like they're trying to market and specifically target like a Gen Z audience. And I think that's interesting. And I think it's that could work. But I just wonder if this movie, and we'll see what the rest of the cast looks like. It's not done, but I do wonder if this movie, like, how it plays outside of that, and if there is enough like star power on this cast to cut through. Um, it feels like Fantastic Four. Like I was a little muted in my excitement for Fantastic Four's cast. And I love the movie Fantastic Four First Steps, but I mean Kevin Feige was just at Comic Con a couple weeks ago, being like, that movie, it's a good movie, but it didn't work. It only made this amount of money. So I'm worried about the movie from like a business standpoint, from a a story standpoint, and the cast in general. I think there's some good here. I'm sure all these people could act. Um, I think I'm high on a lot of these people individually, but I have concerns about like what is this? Does this sell if you're Marvel?
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm not. I mean, when you explain it, I'm not surprised. But I'm surprised in general that there was a real negative, any kind of negative reaction to
Yeah.
the reveal of the cast. I mean, I'm curious how you feel about Shan, but I mean, for me, I think that the age of this team makes sense for the first X-Men movie. Like, I think that this was a team that, if you're going to be establishing them as, and now that we see, as mutants who are already in the Marvel universe, like, this is not going to be, I think, in terms of whatever happens after Secret Wars, I don't think this is going to end up being like, oh, like there's an alternate universe that's been collided, and now these people that were mutants somewhere else are not mutants here. I don't think that's going to happen. I would expect probably some kind of awakening of mutants, and maybe more people like Jean that appear after Secret Wars for some reason. Why, I don't know. We got to watch the movies. But to me, if that's the route you're gonna go, then you're gonna have to go younger stars. And to me, Marvel getting back to giving out the Marvel 360 deals, where it's like, here, sign this, and now we got you for 15 movies, and you can be doing this for the next 15 years. That's what I wanted to see. Like, that's what I wanted to see from this upcoming team. Like, I didn't need to see a bunch of established superstars to make it definitely make me want to come out to see X-Men. But I don't think that you necessarily need that for the general audience. I think the X-Men, as far as a team, they are as mainstream as anything. I think everybody knows who the X-Men are. I think because of the 2000 movies, I think with the success of Hugh Jackman and how much of a star he's become, like, I think that the X-Men are not a property. It's not like the Fantastic Four, where they had no success on the big screen, so therefore maybe there was an argument to try to put bigger stars in those roles to sell the movie. All you gotta do is say X-Men, people are showing up. I don't think you have that same problem. So I don't have those issues. Sham, I don't know how you feel if you have those issues as well.
I do not. I know Keno and Med, mentioned this as a concern before. Um, you know, yeah, no, I just don't. share the same concern. I think I prefer a young X-Men. They don't necessarily have to be unknown necessarily. Like I think that Indy Navarrete casting for Rogue, I think that's gonna boost a lot of the kind of
The cachet.
probably a lot of the viewership and excitement for the movie.
Yeah.
Particularly coming off of her success from Obsession. Of course, we're very familiar with her from Superman and Lois as well. She was very good in. But yeah, no, I'm not concerned. I am happy that that we're getting kind of a younger cast. Because it tells me that they're planning for the future, right? That we're gonna get, um, we can grow with these characters, and then also like the audience can grow with these characters, right? That you'll have kids or teens or whoever that can also grow with these X-Men, and this can be like their X-Men, and it's like it's I think it's very, I don't know if not like genius, but I think it's good like business, to be honest. I think it's good as long as you feel like you have the right people. But if they feel like these are the right people, I think it's very good business. And we saw, I think even EJ, I know you mentioned Jackman. I even go as far as to say it now, even with people like McAvoy and Fassbender and
Yeah.
others, where it's like the X Men brand at this point is very well known.
Yeah. The legacy is super strong.
Yeah, the legacy is very strong.
And we see it with the popularity of X-Men '97. How many people have watched it?
Yes, and you have so many people now in the kind of, I don't know if I say rogues gallery, but just in their kind of back pocket that they can pull with all this multiverse stuff, especially that you can pull if you want to pull somebody else, some other version of whatever character. So yeah, I'm very excited, very very excited. As you said, EJ, is a very very long time coming. I think it's a pretty safe assumption that there was some kind of contractual reason.
It has to be, right?
Why they
I'm waiting to hear it. I'm waiting for them to confirm this finally, so we can move on.
It's kind of weird that there's still nobody that's cornered them on that.
Like, because it doesn't make any logical sense. Like to me, it's never. I've been very vocal about it, quite frankly.
The only other
forever, like it's never made any logical sense.
The only other explanation, and even this is not a good explanation at this point. The only other explanation that I was willing to accept was, they thought like we're good till Secret Wars, right? And then we can do a clean reset until Secret Wars, and maybe they were wrong that like their stuff wasn't as good as they thought it was. But they introduced Jean Grey before Secret Wars, and there was no like, we gotta have a crazy, cataclysmic event create the mutants or anything like that.
Right.
Like she just showed up. So now I'm like, even that one doesn't really track. So yeah, it must have just been. That would just be.
Yeah, I mean, it's X-Men again. As we keep saying, like X-Men is a moneymaker, right? Like, so they're just saying they don't want money, regardless of if they think, we have a good plan or whatever. It's like you have the X-Men now; they would make your plan better. Yeah. And it's one of those things where you should. I don't know. Kevin Feige doesn't strike me that much as kind of crazy artist that just wants to be right or whatever. Like when you have the X-Men on the board, you put them in whatever you're doing, and then you make more money and you become more successful. So
I also wonder if again some of these actors like had like contracts. They're like, we can't do another, like we can't recast these people without.
That could be it. Yeah.
Like we can't recast these people because their contracts say like, I got to do the next 5 X-Men movies until 2028. And so they're all right. Well, then we'll wait till 2028 to do it.
It could be like, hey, listen, like it could be, like Sophie Turner's deal came up.
Yeah,
and this is when they could then put somebody in that.
This is like role. And like buying them out of these contracts might have cost them like $100 million. They're like,
right. It might have been so ridiculous that's like, what's the point of that? Like, let's just wait.
Right.
So yeah, that's gonna be. Because I'm sure there'll be some book, some interview he'll do eventually. We will learn some of that. That part of it definitely I find weird. I don't know why we don't know any more of this. What did you guys think of the actual characters they revealed? I mean, mostly female, which is interesting. I assume
Daniel RPK said that years ago, and I called him out saying, "Oh, he's rage baiting. He's lying." But maybe he wasn't.
Don't seem like it right now. But like, are we to assume that these are all the X-Men? Like, is Emma Frost a member of the X-Men to start? Like, there's no way. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, I can't imagine all of the Charles Melton Beast stuff was floating around unless, and of course there was the rumor that it's falling apart. They're not going to announce the X-Men at D23 because Melton's deal fell through, and of course he didn't show up. So it's possible. I assume that
I couldn't imagine they wouldn't do an X-Men reveal because that dude didn't show up. That seems
right, exactly. That was the word, and that's what everybody kept saying. Like, well, then just do it without him, right? Like we
right.
you don't need to tell me Beast is in the movie. Like we'll find out, a year from now. So yeah, I think Beast is probably in it. And again, after that, there's been no word officially that like Angel or Iceman are in it. There's been some, scoopers that have maybe insinuated maybe they're in it, maybe they're looking for those actors. But nothing really hard on those characters. But everybody else that we got, and again, Storm was one that was really quiet. Like for a long time, we didn't know, there was no word that they were even looking for a Storm. But there was all this smoke about all these other characters and whatnot. It was like, Storm even in this movie, or is she going to be in Black Panther? I think that was a big question. And then, a day before the announcement, Jeff Snyder puts out that they had auditioned some actress Susie Bemba from France as somebody that they were looking at, and then they roll out Maya Boyd, who's somebody no one's ever really heard of as terms of a film background, and obviously again she auditioned for the role, and so there's probably other things that we don't know about this movie. Again, if they were able to keep the Storm thing pretty under lock and key, I imagine they may have an Iceman and an Angel, but certainly a Beast. It's just whether it's going to be Charles Melton or is it going to be homie Peter Clafley from Game of Thrones,
or somebody who we don't know, who may appear in, just like Maya Boyd appeared out of nowhere. Like
Christopher Abbott kind of came in the ninth hour, like
last minute.
We thought it was Bill Skarsgård, Tom Pelphrey, and Patrick Wilson, and then I sent you guys the article that was like, 5 guys have auditioned, and Abbott's name was on there, Harris Dickinson was on there, and Will Poulter, who played obviously Adam Warlock, was on there. So that was along with the other 2 guys, Pelphrey and Skarsgård, were the 5. Abbott's the one that's probably the most confusing for me, if I'm being honest. I think that's the one that, because like the age thing is one thing, but look, I've gotten over the age thing. At this point, again, Sadie Sink, when she was cast as Jean Grey, it's like, well, yeah, we know they're going to be young, right? Can they work around that? And I just feel like if you're trying to sell this movie, I think having a Charles Xavier that has credibility and is a recognizable figure, I think would have helped. Again, I think they don't want to break the bank, which I don't know if it's smart, because again, I think you got to sell this movie, 1, but 2, I also think they just didn't want an actor that would overshadow the X-Men. I don't think Charles Xavier is gonna have I'm not gonna say he's not gonna have a big role, because of course it's Charles Xavier, but I don't know if he's gonna be. Certainly don't think he's gonna be the face of this movie. I don't necessarily think he's gonna be top billing in this movie. And I think they may have felt going out and getting any actor that's that is gonna cost us money and is gonna be a recognizable figure. Especially because they wanted to go younger in general. So
right, but point, they got to lock these people in again. To me, it's very clear these people are going to be locked into major deals that are going to have them committed to Marvel for, I would assume, at least a decade. So you got to find somebody who's willing to do that. You also got to find somebody who's willing to do that at a number that they like. So that's the. And to me, and I guess I know you. For me, I guess I look at it. I don't look at it again as much as a negative. To me, it feels like a return to form. This is what Marvel was doing when they started the MCU. When they cast Iron Man, they cast Captain America, they cast Thor. They were not looking for people who were A-list actors or people who were going to be top of the billing. Robert Downey was kind of on the downs and outs, and this was kind of one of his last shots, right? Chris Hemsworth was a bit of a nobody. Chris Evans was a talent, but somebody who couldn't get latched onto a real prominent franchise that could be sustainable. They got those people on the low end, and then they added your your Scarlett Johansson's on like the mega deal, for a character that they feel okay, this is someone that people aren't as familiar with. Let's attach them to someone who is currently an A-list actress. Let's put in Samuel Jackson. Let's make him Nick Fury. Like that. This is the formula that Marvel did when they started all of this, was to have their tentpole characters not necessarily be people who are the biggest household names, because they felt like their brand, they hoped, would push through and the talent would push through. So if Feige and the crew thinks that Abbott and these actors can have the chops to get it done, I'm gonna at least give them an opportunity to see if they can do it.
Do you think
Also,
that this is? Yeah, well, I'll let you go, Mark.
I'll be honest, and I'm not, you of course you guys know I'm not the biggest Kevin Feige, faithful trust in Kevin Feige. But I do believe that Feige knows his X Men. He worked on the older
He's
movies
taking
of
it
Dark
seriously. I
Knight,
don't think
where,
he's messing around.
yeah, he did, and we think contractually, but he was forced to take his time and really make sure he did his vetting and
Right.
they did their homework on these people, and that they did auditions, and we know just from all these rumors and stuff they were auditioning. They didn't just people have issues with Kugler picked up the phone and I just decided, like, no, they did audition for all
Yeah.
of these people, and they
Right.
picked people. So, and and that, in the original X-Men movies that, we saw growing up were, that casting wasn't perfect, but they got a lot right in those
They
castings.
got a lot right historically.
And I think I do, of all people, on this planet, to be frank, like, I do trust Kevin Feige in picking an X-Men cast. Like, I think I think he has a pretty
Yeah.
good grasp on these characters, and what makes a good Charles Xavier, what makes a good Cyclops, what makes a good Magneto or Sinister or whoever. I think he has a good understanding of that. So I do believe in him in that regard. Like, and I'm glad we're getting a younger cast this time. And I'm curious to see what these people are.
I do
Me,
hope so. I do hope just on this cast that some of these people again are not X Men. Like I don't need Rogue to be an X Man to start. Like I want Rogue to be part of the Brotherhood. I want her to have her tangle with Captain Marvel, and that could be a great way to cross her over and put her in that movie. Yeah, Emma Frost has no business being an X Man, the first X Man. Like I'm really hoping that that's not the case. I was very, I thought to announce these characters, this collection. I
Emma
thought
Frost is a weird inclusion in general. Again, her being in the movie is not something that we haven't known. I mean, we've heard for a while that they were, looking to cast her character. But again, it's like, we're rolling Emma Frost out early, but we don't have Beast yet. We don't have Iceman or Angel. Again, we don't know if those characters are in the movie at all. What's, like you said, what's her role in this thing? Like, she's not, like you say, certainly not part of the X-Men. Is she a part of the? Is she like
Man,
a
I hope
teacher at
not.
the
Like I don't know for
institute?
sure. I don't know for
Is
sure.
she
I hope
working
not.
for Sinister? I mean, I like, my brain was turning on a lot of this stuff, and there was a part of me that was like again, we asked ourselves, are they doing the Hellfire Club? Like, we thought for a second, Hollywood Reporter was like, maybe Adam Driver's playing Sebastian Shaw. I'm wondering, maybe they're gonna wind up like, maybe they're gonna mix those characters together at some point. Like, maybe
so kind of,
Sebastian Shaw, Mr.
are you
Sinister are gonna
thinking,
be one and the same. Like, I don't know.
we're gonna get another, Mystique leading the X-Men type of situation where we're gonna get people on the
I mean,
X-Men
if
that
that's gonna happen, it's
shouldn't be
gonna
on
be
the
Sadie
X-Men?
Sink. But I don't have as big a problem with like Jean Grey being a central figure. It's not what I would do, uh, but yeah, I think Sadie Sink's going to be the Hugh Jackman figure, the Jennifer Lawrence figure in this equation. And look, it's different than what we've gotten before. EJ, I think you're muted.
No, I was gonna say that right now that would be the right move because she just was in a movie that made $2 billion.
She's the biggest star they've got at this point. You know, and Uh, Fox didn't do that, and with both versions of Jean Grey, and they decided to do the Dark Phoenix thing, but there was no investment in the character because they didn't center her. They rushed the second version of Dark Phoenix. The first Last and Dark Phoenix version was, again, Famke Jensen did a good job, but she was never really a central um, focal point of the story. So, if you want us to get invested in a Dark Phoenix story, making this Jean Grey the kind of eyes and ears character from the jump certainly helps. Certainly helps for that equation. And like you said, she's the biggest star um, on this cast and in this roster. So it'd be smart to build around her at this point.
I'm curious how we'll end up shaking out in our original X-Men roster and how close we'll get. We put up our roster. You can still check it out on our social media, New Generation Podcast on TikTok, or EJ, rather Action EJ on TikTok, but New Generation Podcast on Instagram. So everybody I think had Scott. Everybody had Storm. Everybody had Jean. Nobody had Rogue. I don't think. Definitely nobody had Emma. We'll see if those members actually end up being on the team, but it's interesting that those were castings that were announced. I'm curious to see how big this cast ends up being. I'm also curious about how much, once we break through post Secret Wars, how many mutants get introduced in other things and then show up just like Sadie Sink, in this movie. Like, I mean, like, well, Black Panther, we know Storm. Maybe there's a chance Storm's in that movie, but is there a chance you'll see more mutants show up via another Marvel franchise and then somehow make their way towards the X-Men or in the X-Men universe? Something that I think will be interesting to follow. Also interesting to follow if there will be, I've heard rumors of maybe special presentations about certain Marvel characters and if mutants could be a part of that too. All things that are going to be very interesting, but we made it to a huge threshold. We've been asking for this cast. We've been asking for a release date. We now know essentially less than 2 years from now, we will be sitting in theaters watching Marvel's X-Men. Let's hope there's no delays, but assuming there's no delays, X-Men May 5th, 2028, that will be the release date for when we see the new movie. Kendall?
Yeah, I was also going to say, like, I mean, the great thing that they've got that Fantastic Four didn't have is if this movie doesn't pop off like they'd hope, you haven't played the Magneto card or the Wolverine card, right? So that you have a backup plan. Now, do you want to have to play those cards after Hugh Jackman and Michael Fassbender had become such a big uh, center point and kind of in some people's eyes they carried the franchise for the two trilogies, and I think that's part of the reason why they're not in this movie is because they want to kind of do something different. Um, but they do have that luxury that again, Fantastic Four. I mean, they didn't do the Doom thing, but they're doing the Doom thing in Doomsday. So it's like, what do you do for a Fantastic Four sequel that is like makes it where it's like, oh, this is a no fail? I mean, you'd have to bring Doom back and make him the villain again. But um, and I do wonder, like, is Magneto really even in? Like, I don't think I'm even. I'm not 100% confident Magneto's gonna show up anytime soon. Um, I think he should. I mean, I would certainly he'd be teased at minimum in this movie if I was doing it. But I mean, we also, if you would have told me 10 years ago that we'd have no Norman Osborn in the MCU, I would have told you,
Yeah.
oh, you're crazy. They'll do Oscorp, they'll do all that. And I mean, they did. No, they did obviously Willem Dafoe, but I don't really count that. So who knows? Maybe they say to themselves, "Ah, it's been done before." Feige and Jake Schreier keep saying like, "Oh, there's 1,000 X-Men stories that haven't been done yet." You guys have only scratched the surface on what we've seen on screen with the X-Men. That's true, but at the same time, we want to see some of the stuff that is obviously the best stuff. So I think that's going to be curious.
Yeah, the Magneto part of this is interesting that he's not been cast yet. We don't have any leads on where they're going with that. Um, the fact that Driver's being pushed in the way that he is suggests that Magneto definitely ain't the main villain of the first movie. Yeah, I'm
They could
curious
also
what
do Magneto like Doom. Like they could be like, hey, we're not doing him, but we'll do him in an Avengers
they
thing
could.
and it's connected to Wanda and all
Yeah,
this
they
other
could.
stuff.
Yeah, they could. They maybe that's why they're holding him. Maybe they're like, listen, let's hold him because we want to try to connect Wanda and bring back Quicksilver and like that's it's an interesting. The Magneto of this in his absence is interesting. You mentioned how they've said how there's a million stories that haven't been done before. That is obviously very true. Like there's a lot of X Men, a lot of really good X Men stuff that has not been done because so much was done in the New Millennium that we never got to touch. We didn't get to touch anything from Grant Morrison, anything from Josh Whedon. Like none of that stuff got touched.
I think they even mentioned
Essentially,
Hickman.
Yeah, they
Like
mentioned
trying
Hickman, who was very new. Obviously, that's the Krakoa stuff. So, I don't know what they're gonna do with that, but that is, but again, like the fact that they keep mentioning him suggests that they can go in many ways. Magneto's usually a part of some of that stuff, most of that stuff. So I would assume that he's gonna make an appearance. But I think for a lot of X Men fans, not all or most, I don't know what the majority is, but I think there was definitely an appetite for less Wolverine centric stuff. I don't know if I heard people excited for less Magneto.
I haven't heard that. No, there was
No,
certainly
so
a focus on Magneto in the last trilogy, but I
he
haven't
was a
heard.
major focus of the last trilogy. He was really the only good thing from
And it
Dark
worked.
Phoenix.
Yeah, nobody complained.
It was awesome, and he was right. He's the only good thing from Dark Phoenix. His scenes in Dark Phoenix were excellent. But like I don't know. I wonder if for Marvel when they were checking the boxes of like what if they want to do different from the previous Fox thing. I'm just wondering if like is Magneto on that list? Like I don't think he should be. Like I think he's too dynamic a character to say we're gonna put him on
Bench.
the board because we don't care about him or we feel like we want to do something different. Like he's somebody that okay, you're taking over. You want to do something different. Okay, find something different to do with him. He needs to be out there. He needs to be. He's first string. He's not. He's not some bench warmer like Kendall said.
And again, the immediate thing my mind goes to, like, I think it's a little lazy to be like, we'll just bench him. Like, again, you have Wanda and Pietro. Like, Fox
Right.
dabbled in the Quicksilver thing a little bit, but they never really went full tilt. And again, they really, I guess they don't have Pietro anymore. But you have Scarlet Witch, which is the bigger factor of it. Like, why wouldn't you play into that piece? And again, there's a million other Marvel
Well, the
connected
problem is
stories
they've worked actively like
to distance themselves from the Magneto
right.
stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've been the last 10 years has been them distancing themselves from that. Like that's been the effort that's
We was
happened.
spent a whole WandaVision series speculating, like, all right, so is this the episode where Magneto shows up? Is this the episode where they
Yeah.
tie in Magneto? And like, they didn't really give themselves a whole lot of wiggle room to be like, yeah, they
Yeah.
went all into her psyche and background. There was no, and that was after the deal. Like that was after
Right.
the Fox merger. Like you knew that this was going on, and again, they didn't really try to work, to put some breadcrumbs in there. So again, they were this whole X-Men thing's been a little haphazard from Marvel in terms of like the game plan and when they decided to go forward with it and the Doomsday like balancing of that. And I think Gambit's not a part of this thing because I think Channing Tatum's like, we're already doing Gambit in Doomsday. We don't have to really worry about Gambit yet, and that's fine. But like, I wonder if there was no Channing Tatum Gambit stuff, would they have been like, let's have Gambit play play a factor in this movie? Like, it's again, it's interesting how how they're trying to balance all this out.
Yeah, we'll have to end up seeing how they continue to play this out. But I'm excited. I'm excited to have Marvel with the X Men. Excited to finally have a release date. That's all good. So we're moving in the right direction. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. Let's continue though. The other big thing that happened over the weekend. First look at Avengers Doomsday. So we had the trailer that came out. That was great. But this one was a fuller, more in-depth look, I guess, at Avengers Doomsday. This was the footage that was revealed at Comic Con a couple weeks ago that now we all got to see. I'll toss to the Shan first. Shamar, what did you think of the new footage we got to see of Avengers Doomsday this week?
Oh, it's great. I mean, as you said, EJ. I mean, it kind of leaked all over the internet and stuff like before, but yeah, seeing it in like full 4K HD. Oh man, it's great. Looks great. Doom is so menacing. His accent is on point. Um, the suit is on point. You know, him summoning those, like what look like sentinels or
Yeah,
you
Sentinels.
know, it's on point. Like, you know, it's and they're hyping up the Reed uh, Doom connection, which was something that I was hoping to see. So they got me. I'm in. I'm invested. Um, I think this has a ton of potential. The Russos have not disappointed so far. I wouldn't think that they would start with this. Um, I actually think doing Doom is. I know they did a lot of work obviously to set up the Kang threat, but I think doing Doom is probably an easier sell than Kang, um, especially when you have the Fantastic Four. I know it's not a pivot they wanted to do, but I think it's one that may end up benefiting them in the long run. So yeah, no, I'm excited. Uh, and yes, I mean, I I think the footage, um, the footage looks great. It was technically released before, so people have seen it. Um, but I was very impressed. So yeah, did nothing to mute my excitement at all. I'm still very excited.
Shamari's all in. Kendall, what did you think of the trailer?
I thought this was one of the better. I think this is one of the better Marvel trailers we've seen in a long time. Um, I think back to like the Age of Ultron and Endgame's trailer, and there's plenty that we can go. Civil War had obviously great trailers, like Infinity War. Like, I mean, all the Avengers movies, frankly, have had great trailers. Um, but I think back to all the great trailers that we've seen, um, over the years. I think this one is up there. Uh, Robert Downey Jr. obviously as Doom, even though we're not seeing his face. Like, it's clearly, his performance is certainly coming through the mask, coming through the suit. Um, I think the Fantastic Four piece of it has been really interesting because, again, this is a movie that's going to do probably $2 billion, and it's coming out a Fantastic Four movie that did, I don't know, 500, 600 million. Um, they're going to play a central part of this movie, and not a lot of people saw that movie. But like, obviously, again, this is going to be the Russo brothers doing this version of them. A lot of people joking that Pedro, this was like Pedro from The Last of Us. This wasn't this wasn't the Reed that we saw in Fantastic Four First Steps. But no, I mean, I'm super excited for this movie. Um, I think when you look at, like, in general what the Russos have done with these characters, it's almost always great. Uh, I'm excited to see what they do with the characters that maybe we haven't seen them work with. Right, Gambit. A lot of people talking about Channing Tatum's Gambit looks a little bit more serious in this version than he did in Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, again, I don't think that's a surprise that the character was more serious than he was in Deadpool. But
It's pretty low bar to clear, by the way.
yeah, very low bar to clear. But Shang-Chi, what does Shang-Chi look like in this? What do the Wakandans look like in this? How do the new Avengers play in this sandbox? I mean, we saw again a taste of it in the post-credit scene of the new Avengers Thunderbolts movie. So I mean, it's going to be very interesting. At the end of the day, all roads still lead back to Robert Downey Jr. As Doom. That performance will still be the thing that makes or breaks this movie. And everything I've seen, I mean, if you want to talk about creating hype, this felt like I know we had that, and obviously they had this trailer ready for Comic-Con, but at Comic-Con, Feige was like, "Oh, I heard all the stuff about, there's been no build up, and Thanos had all this build up, and there's been no build up to Doom, and then you drop this trailer, and it's like, I don't know if I need any build up, right? I think this is all the build up I need to get excited for this character. At the same time, like it's also again, this goes back to what we talked about with the merger, and like yeah, they got Doctor Doom, and again, they've taken so long to use Doctor Doom. But like, yes, this is what you can do when you then utilize Doctor Doom in this way, and you don't really need to do that much. Like, I mean, and it's even the fact that they've casted Robert Downey Jr. Like, I think it's been good so far, but they haven't. Like, it's not like they're showing his face. Like, we really don't. If it was somebody completely different, we'd have no the wiser. And honestly, there's been some people throwing out some theories that maybe that's not Robert Downey Jr. Maybe there's a second Doom out there and all this other stuff. But again, it just shows you like the power of some of these characters, man. Like again, you could throw Doom in this thing and completely throw him in as the Avengers level threat, and it's totally believable and it's awesome. Yeah. So again, I think that's certainly the message from this trailer.
Yeah, this trailer was gas. This trailer was the one I think to really feel it. Okay, we're kicking this into high gear. I think just
should this have been the first trailer? Did they botch like not just releasing this?
No. I think it's fine what they've done. To be honest, I feel like typically with Marvel, it's usually the second trailer for like their classics. Usually it's the second trailer that's the one. Like I think about Civil War, like the first trailer for Civil War is awesome, but it was the second trailer that was the one. I think for Infinity War, I think it was the second trailer that was the one. I think typically for what they've done, it's usually been the second trailer that's been the one that people will say, "Oh, yo, I gotta go see this." So I think I think the first trailer did what it needed to do. I think the second trailer I think was definitely the one that I think really needed to kind of and they showed it at Comic Con. They showed it at the place that you would want to show this trailer at. And they've wanted to make this movie obviously a Doom centric movie, so you need a Doom centric trailer, and they did a good job, I thought. Unlike the first trailer, where so much of it was kind of like so much from the hero's perspective of just simply speaking around kind of what a generic threat. This one spoke more directly to Doom being the specific threat, and how terrifying what he was doing was, not just what they thought he could do or what in theory he may have done that we don't see on screen. So, yeah, I thought this trailer was awesome. I mean, we heard about the dialogue between him and Thor. Now they actually hear it in 4K and watch it. Excuse me, and watch it in 4K and see it play out. Like it definitely delivers. Yeah, this was money. This was a money trailer, man, and it feels like for those who sold their stock in Marvel, you might want to buy it back. It feels like right now Marvel is hot. So you was happy with Spider-Man. See the build up that's happening for this movie. I expect this movie to also break records. Sham, I think Marvel is in a spot they haven't been in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing a good job of building the hype for this Doomsday event. I would say, I probably wouldn't say they botched anything necessarily. I think both of the trailers are very good. But I would say maybe I agree, because I'd say this trailer felt like more of a tease than the last one. The last one felt like a regular trailer, whereas this one feels like a teaser.
They call it a special look.
They call it like a special look trailer. But yeah, I mean it works, and I don't know. I feel like there's so much, and on top of that, there's so much that we haven't seen. Like I know we didn't really discuss this, and this may have been a little. I don't know if this was like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, but where they showed those like figures, those like mystical figures, those like Doom.
Yeah, the Latvian witches.
The Latvian witches, or whoever those people.
Yeah, I think that was technically elite, but yeah.
or leak. Supposed spoiler.
Disney's like, we didn't release that. I don't know where that
But
came from.
this stuff is just leaking all over the place. But all this stuff looks so cool. All of this stuff looks
No, it looks awesome.
uh, it looks great. And that's just telling me that there's still so much that they're just not telling us. On top of what we already know, what we're
Yeah,
already
I feel like they keep showing us kind of the same. They're not showing us a lot.
I think there's like
they're kind of showing us around the same scenes more or less, and it all looks fire. Like it looks fire. It looks legit.
I think this is another similar to Spider-Man. I think they realize that we don't have to show you really anything, and we're gonna make $2 billion anyway, and it's gonna be awesome. You guys are gonna love it better because we didn't show you anything.
Yeah, that's why I can't really hate on them for like the promotions and so far. And I think that the Spider-Man movie, even though the movie doesn't directly link to Doomsday in any major way or even insignificant way, from what I can see, it still feels like that momentum is being carried right into what's going to happen with Doomsday and the reaction for it.
It's quite the message being sent. Like if you're Zaslav and like you just like I sent you guys that interview that Zaslav did with the Hollywood Reporter where he's like, yeah, I saw him on this, I saw, I talked to James Gunn yesterday. I've seen a little bit of Man of Tomorrow looks good, and talked to Matt Reeves and everything. Like it didn't sound like a guy that was like, I'm super, and we got all these cancellations of Waller and Paradise Lost and everything getting canceled. Like, I don't know if they're like super happy with the job that's been done at DC. It's certainly quite the message being sent, back from Marvel that like, we just did $2 billion on Spider-Man.
What I tell you guys? I told you. I think that James Gunn saw Kevin Feige probably saw that reaction to Supergirl and probably poured himself something.
Absolutely.
Like I said, y'all thought this was this easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's levels to this. I feel like there's no question. Marvel is spanking DC this year. There's no other way to describe it. And listen, I've been a James Gunn defender. I've been a James Gunn fan, but they are spanking DC left and right. Now we'll talk about Lantern soon, but there's no question what's happening right now.
I saw another YouTuber speculate, a guy by the name of Jody's Corner. He speculated that like the only reason they're doing this Jimmy Olsen show is because like it's literally the cheapest thing they could do because they wouldn't have to. They could reuse all the sets that they're using on Man of Tomorrow and the Superman movie, and like they're not DC and Warner Bros. Is not going to give them any money to do like any other type of show. And so they're like, well, we guess we got to do this, and I'm like, I think that's a fair theory because it doesn't really make sense. I mean, we've all been like,
yeah, I mean, that theory makes sense.
But like maybe like they're like, we gotta do something. You want us to do nothing, or like we have to release something, but they're not giving us any money to shoot like anything major. Now again, we'll talk about Lanterns. I think Lanterns reception could help change the momentum quite a bit. But yeah, I think it's for the next 2 years it's gonna be bleak, right? Because I mean, the Batman got pushed back to 2028, early 2028, but got pushed back to 2028. So, I mean, and Marvel doesn't have any movies coming out until Secret Wars after Doomsday, but still, I mean, that's going to be 3 movies in the last 2 years for Marvel that are probably all going to do over $2 billion.
And if Doomsday is in any way the storyline major event that Infinity War was, they don't need anything else until Secret Wars.
Yep. Yeah. And
they got lucky. Like they had Captain Marvel that year, and Captain Marvel did well, but they didn't need Captain Marvel.
No,
they could have just went straight to Doom, like Endgame, and it would have been fine. So it feels like Marvel's about to come out with an anvil that DC better be careful in terms of like how they recover. Like Man Tomorrow better hit, and there's no reason to just say it won't, but it becomes a crucial hit. Speaking of DC, we'll get to Lanterns in a little bit because I want to give you thoughts on the show. But before we get to the end of the show, we do have also a update regarding Ghost Rider. So now we have a release date for Ghost Rider. So July 28th, 2028 will be Ghost Riders. Now we have three Marvel movies for 2028. You got May 5th for X Men, Ghost Rider July 28th, and then December later in the year, you have Black Panther. So, Sham, any thoughts on having Ghost Rider with an official release date for July?
I think that's a good spot for Ghost Rider. I mean, I know some people talked about Halloween time kind of thing, but I think this works too. Uh, I mean, Ryan Gosling and him playing Johnny Blaze. I think that's a very kind of, I could see him maybe playing, I guess, a more fun Johnny Blaze. At least that's what I would picture. So,
It's gonna be the Norman
but yeah,
Reedus, fan cast where it's just some
no,
rusty old motorcycle guy,
yeah, not
biker
Death Stranding,
gang.
No, I definitely think, yeah, I think Ryan Gosling and Summer go very well together. Uh, so I think that, yeah, I definitely think a July 28th date for Ghost Rider works very well. Um, and it's also a good kind of pairing with the X Men. Those are two. Um, I mean, obviously, everything that with all these movies, they're all very out there, but those are two very like out there kind of projects.
Absolutely.
So I think having those two very fun, very just a lot going on, both in the summer, and then leading into Black Panther in the winter. I think it's a very I think that's a very fun lineup for 2028, especially after Secret Wars. You're trying to kind of establish this new, this whatever the new normal, like normal, or whatever the new state of the MCU is at that point.
Yeah.
Um, and I have very very high, or solidly high expectations, I would say, for this Ghost Rider movie as well. I think it's going to do very well.
How you feel, Kendall, about the new Ghost Rider release date?
I mean, look, again, it's a it's a bit of a bold strategy to, again, to put it in the middle of the summer and
Yeah.
kind of put it in one of their big, obviously, again, May has kind of been their big Avengers window, and to put the X-Men there is smart. But they've had quite a bit of success in July as well, as we just saw with Spider-Man, obviously being a Sony movie, but you just had a lot of success with Spider-Man, and so um, to play in that is putting you right in the heart of the summer, and there's gonna be some competition. But I think they feel like Ryan Gosling as Ghost Rider is going to sell. It's a very visually, interesting, character, right? It's even for somebody that's not super into comics or comic book movies. Um, if you, again, we talked about it before, if you remember the Nicolas Cage movie, if you don't remember the Nicolas Cage movie, you're just gonna see a guy with a flaming skull for a head on a motorcycle. Like, it's okay. I
It's
mean,
kind of an
Marvel,
unforgettable image. Yeah.
yeah, it's an unforgettable image, and like if you care anything about Marvel movies or comic book movies, you might go to see Ryan Gosling as a flaming skull head guy, right? Like, you might just take that anyway. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I think it'll do well. I don't think it'll do like a billion, but I think it'll do well enough. And if it's good, I think that could really help it quite a bit. And man, I think Midnight Suns is a very interesting play
Yeah.
now going forward. We don't know what's going on with Blade, right? That's a whole another
Sounds
conversation.
like sounds like nothing. Sounds like nothing.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's going on with that. Yeah, nothing's going on with that movie for
Yeah.
sure. But even Mahershala Ali in general, like, is he coming back? I mean, the fact that he's been so public
Doesn't
makes you
sound doesn't
think,
sound like it.
yeah, it doesn't
No,
make you
it
think
like
no.
it.
Um, but like the concept of a Midnight Suns movie with some version of Blade, whoever it is, maybe it's Wesley Snipes, I don't know, but with a Blade or not a Blade, but with this Ghost Rider, with Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight, with Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch,
Scarlet
with
Witch.
maybe John Bernthal as Punisher, like, you know, then there's again plenty of other characters you could throw in there as well. That's a movie that you could do $1 billion if done well and done right. So, I think that's something that I think that's another reason why it gets a date like this is because maybe they feel like this is just a precursor to them pushing this thing even further. I heard some speculation. Maybe they might be trying to throw a mutant in there. Heard Nightcrawler's name mentioned as a possibility. We've heard some talk about do they bring Sacha Baron Cohen's Mephisto into the mix? Does he tie into this at all? There's a lot of interesting things they could do. What did you guys think of the Vision Quest thing we saw? I don't know if you guys saw that the Vision Quest trailer.
I don't think I saw the Vision Quest trailer, to be honest.
Oh, you didn't?
But I think it might have been. Was it not? It wasn't the same one that we saw at Comic-Con?
It was not. No, it was not the same.
Yeah, it was slightly different.
Yeah, this was a different one. It's funny. I watched it, and I actually told kind of you may have heard, but actually said I liked the one that we saw a little bit better.
Yeah,
but
I think it was a little bit better.
Yeah, but yeah, it's. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say you didn't miss anything, but it showed a lot of. It showed a lot of what we saw.
Right, a lot of the same Ultrons, James Spader,
yeah.
They didn't focus as much on the other AI.
Okay.
Yes.
And they focused a little bit more on Tommy Maximoff. Like they kind of teased him in the one we saw. In this one, they kind of showed him a lot.
Okay.
So I think the other one was a little bit better, but it seems like this one went over well. Again, I'm not as into the theory that Marvel's gotta leave live action television. I think that's a bad idea.
No,
I think that's what they're doing.
I think it's.
And I don't know if it's their idea. It seems like it might be coming from above Kevin Feige's head. This might be a Disney.
I think the new head of Disney is doing this.
Yeah, I think he's just like Disney Plus is his first thing is get rid of Disney Plus as far as a live.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bob Iger, his last edict was like, "Yo, we're doing too many shows," and then Bob Iger basically handpicked this guy to be his successor. So he gets into the mix, and like the first thing you have is all these shows getting canceled. Like to me, like there's 1 + 1 = 2. Like I forgot bro's name, but like
Josh D'Amaro,
if he is the guy that was the protege for Bob Iger, and Bob Iger, his assessment was that they were spending too much time on Disney Plus shows and it was hurting the product, then I don't think that guy's gonna come up and go against whatever Bob Iger's edict was. I think in many ways he's probably going to be even more aggressive once he takes charge. And
he's a perks guy too, so again, he's not going to be partial to the TV.
Yeah, I know a lot of people streaming. And like, and it was understandable. We jumped out the window for Wonder Man being canceled, feeling like, what the hell are you doing with these black heroes? Where you're canceling a show that's nominated for an Emmy, and people jumped down on Kevin Feige's neck. I feel like a lot of that smoke. As we know, Destin said that Feige wanted to continue the show. It wasn't on Kevin Feige. I think a lot of this smoke is coming from Disney. I think a lot of this stuff we're talking about, not the Blade stuff, but just like the TV cancellations, the not continuing TV stuff. Like that's probably more of a Disney thing than a Marvel thing.
And it's so unfortunate because again, I think they look at I think look, their Disney Plus stuff hasn't worked, right? I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. Across the board, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Disney as a whole, a lot of the Disney Plus television stuff hasn't worked. But I looked at other networks. I mean, again, we're about to talk about Lanterns. I mean, Lanterns might damn near save the ECU, and that's going to be an HBO show.
We're going to talk about it.
I don't think that there's not room for television. I mean, HBO's banking big on Warner Bros. Banking big on Harry Potter as a series on HBO Max. Like it's obviously. Netflix's whole model is based on streaming and shows. They're not releasing movies, so like in the theater theatrically. Like I think that's foolish, especially again if you're Marvel and you just inherited the X-Men, and I mean they didn't just inherit the X-Men, but they finally started to use the X-Men.
Yeah.
There's so many characters. I mean, we speculated on this years ago. About the time Disney Plus came around was about the time they got Marvel. We're like, this could be a great medium to tell all these stories with all these X-Men characters. And right now it feels like the furthest they'll go is maybe do some special presentations. Even the rumor now is that Heroes for Hire might be a special presentation, but not like any sort of series or anything like that. And I'm like, Heroes for Hire doesn't strike me as a good special presentation. Like, I'll watch it. I'm not saying I would, but like
They could
that's a
probably
show
do.
that should
I'll
be
be honest. I think they probably
an
could do a
episodic.
very. I feel like they probably could do a very good special presentation of that.
You can do look, you can do a good Heroes for Hire 1 hour, 120 plus, story, but like the episodic nature of like what you could do with that, I feel like would be very interesting. But
no, for sure.
Yeah, I prefer some kind of either a
yeah.
series or a series of movies or something along those lines.
Right, unless you're going to do multiple movies.
I'm always going to be on the side of give me more content. I just think if you were actually picking certain properties to do special presentations for, I actually think because of the nature of Heroes for Hire, literally like somebody hires them to do a job. You can probably tell a very fun story in like 45 minutes. It'd be really good. That's all I bet. But of course, I always would be on the side of giving more content.
Yes.
And one thing real quick before we get to Lanterns, I just want to say one thing on Ghost Rider real quick to wrap up on that. Was for me, this release date was interesting to me. I'm kind of torn. On the one hand, I kind of feel like it's maybe a little too close to X-Men. Like I just feel like X-Men. Like I know, like Kendall has some of his doubts. I think X-Men is gonna be like the biggest thing ever. Like I think like the Marvel having the X-Men back, I think is massive. Like I don't think that's a small thing. Like so I think it could have been 3 of us being cast. It could have been all black X-Men cast. And people would have showed up because I just think it's that big a deal. The X-Men that big a deal, and Marvel having them back is a big deal. And now Sadie Sink, she'd be the only white person in the cast, I guess. Sadie Sink being a part of a $2 billion movie, like that's a big deal. Like I just think that it's gonna like print money. There's a part of me that wonder, like because Ghost Rider is, while it could be fire, no pun intended, because it is so off the beaten path, and because it is so lower stakes in terms of comparisons to the X-Men, I wonder if like it's a weird thing to have people like go to X-Men and then tell them, like, go see Ghost Rider in 2 months. Like, I don't know if those same fans, and you're not gonna get those same fans, like they know that, but I just wonder if that's a big like about face that's very short.
I've got my hot take is I don't think Ghost Rider does that much worse than X-Men.
What?
I think that's
you're bugging.
You're bugging. I think Champ, like if these movies were coming out, if these movies were coming out this summer, I would be like, look, if X-Men does 750, that'd be awesome. And I think Ghost Rider could do 600
for its whole theatrical run.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
I mean,
look, Fantastic Four, I think did 520.
I think you're bugging. Ghost Rider, I don't think it's doing better than Fantastic Four, probably.
This has Ryan Gosling, bro.
It
depends on the marketing.
I would actually say, I think Gosling is red hot right now.
And he's a superstar.
And he hasn't
Project
missed.
Hail Mary.
And I think people are kind of underestimating how much he has not missed.
But bro, the X-Men.
I'm underestimating how much he hasn't missed.
But bro, the X-Men. I'm not saying. I mean, Grant Gosling's a star.
I'm not saying it's gonna be bigger than X-Men. I wouldn't say that. But like,
no, but Kendall said it's gonna be close. Like he said, it would be within 100 million, 150 million in box office. I think no chance. No.
Again, I don't think it gets to $1 billion. I don't think Ghost Rider gets to $1 billion. But I'm not as convinced, obviously, that I think X-Men's getting to $1 billion. So that's why I'm like, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think it's. I don't know how big X-Men is going to be. I hope it's massive, but I think it'll still do. I think it'll do very well.
It's hard to hit $1 billion, man. I mean, again, Spider-Man made it look easy, but like these movies haven't been like. I mean, even look at the history of the X-Men movies. I don't think they've had a movie that's hit $1 billion.
Especially with this being like a new X-Men team. Like, I could see this, like, I don't know if I say being like the Fantastic Four, but maybe doing a little bit better than the Fantastic Four.
And again, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, and that's not bad.
They're super cheap.
Mean it's
like
a bad movie.
They didn't cast anybody that's like, oh man. Like,
yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, honestly, in that sense, I would agree with the cast. Like, they didn't. It's not like the movie has so many like. I mean, we don't know the full cast to be fair,
There's not as much
but like,
pressure on this movie
yeah,
to
we
make
haven't
$1 billion.
heard anyone where it's like, oh yeah, everyone's gonna flock.
I mean, is there if there's
to-
it there could be like is there a world where I think there's a world where maybe the X Men is so good after Secret Wars is so good that maybe just Marvel's riding this crazy high, and therefore Ghost Rider
Oh, that's totally possible.
does numbers that like Iron Man was
If-
doing and like
yeah, if
Thor
these-
was doing, and like
if-
in that scenario, I can see it.
If
I don't
these
see a
movies
scenario
do well-
where, yeah, I don't see a scenario though where it's just like, oh, just off osmosis, like, oh, like Kendall made the case that the movie dropped today that they would do similar numbers. I do not agree with that at all. No chance. It would take, I think, the momentum to be built for that to happen. But to me, if that momentum happens, I still feel like if that's the case, I don't think if Secret Wars is insane and it's awesome, people are excited about the future. Marvel X-Men ain't doing 750 million.
I also wonder. I also don't discount the possibility.
It's easy doing
that
$1 billion
both the
if that's
X-Men-
the case.
I don't discount the possibility that both the X-Men and Ryan Gosling's Ghost Rider are in Secret Wars. And how that introduction goes could play very much into
Very possible.
both of those box offices, right?
Yeah, I think they both. Yeah, I think it's very possible.
The same thing with David Johnson's Black Panther, right? Like, I think that as well could help boost the box office for all three of those.
Yeah, I kind of low-key, I definitely expect Ghost Rider and Black Panther to be in Secret Wars.
And I think we've heard Sadie Sink's in it. And so, I mean,
yeah, we've heard that.
If Sadie Sink's in it, like, are the rest of them in it? Now that they're cast, I hope so.
No, it would be interesting.
That Secret Wars movie is going to be nuts. I mean, just even thinking about it now, it's like, bro, how are they going to fit all of this? I mean, Holland's coming back. Like, that's going to make a bazillion dollars.
I got to reread Secret Wars. I was watching a video on the breakdown of the first Secret Wars that came out in the 80s, which I think is good to know. But they keep talking about Hickman's Secret Wars being the main inspiration for this one, so I gotta reread that one. That one also was a phenomenal story. Definitely recommend. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Absolutely crazy. Let's shift gears though. Let's talk about DC's Lanterns. Let's do that before we get out of here, man. So DC's Lanterns came out, brand new series. This is on HBO. Aaron Pierre, Kyle Chandler, both playing Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. I'll be honest, I thought this was a really solid debut. Solid pilot. I really liked it. I'm very curious what you guys think. I'll toss it to Kendall first.
I've got to eat a lot of crow.
Yeah?
I've got to eat a lot of crow. I think we all do, frankly, right? Because we gave them a lot of heat for specifically the Kyle Chandler. You know, initially it was Josh Brolin. We were like, what are we doing, right? 50, 60-year-old Hal Jordan. No one wants to see this. This is dumb.
To be clear, Hal Jordan fans are still mad.
There are some Hal Jordan fans that are certainly mad, for sure. But man, I mean, is Kyle Chandler not like perfect for a 60-year-old Hal Jordan?
He was awesome. He was awesome.
I mean, that was one of the better. There's only one episode that we've seen, obviously, so far, but that was one of the better portrayals from comic book to live action I've seen in a long time. And I think that we kind of saw a little bit of that vision. I have to re-listen to our old podcast talking about it. Like, I don't think we hated the actor or said, oh, this guy can't be Hal Jordan. It was really just the age. The age is still a thing, and I still probably would have cast somebody younger, but it really played into the, like, you know, a lot of people for years have fan casted Tom Cruise and the whole Top Gun energy and said this guy'd be a perfect Hal Jordan if he didn't cost, you know, $1 bajillion to cast him to play, and if we ever decided to do a Green Lantern, like, he'd be the perfect Green Lantern. And Kyle Chandler is kind of like your food stamp poor man's Tom Cruise in that regard.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And he played into that role, and, you know, again, I thought he did it spectacularly. Aaron Pierre, I didn't have as many issues with his casting, but there were a lot of people obviously that did. I thought he did an excellent job. I felt like, you know, as somebody who grew up watching the Justice League cartoons, it felt like I was watching Jon Stewart from Justice League. Like, he was younger, obviously, but he had that same stoic energy but like command, presence. Those two guys hit it out the park. Again, credit to Gunn and Damon Lindelof and everybody that worked on the show. Conceptually, again, it's a very strange concept. but I'm in. It's kind of like Watchmen, right? We talked about this going into it, that there were a lot of vibes with Watchmen, and obviously Damon Lindelof's involvement.
Yeah.
There was going to be some similarities, and it has that same kind of, again, very strange concept, but quirky enough to make you want to watch it and see what's going on. Very, very inspired casting, which again is also very similar to Watchmen. The Watchmen's cast was incredible, and so far this has been incredible as well. And I think what's most important is I am totally, after one episode, I am totally bought in to Aaron Pierre on the big screen, which again goes back to the thing we were talking about with John Bernthal going from TV to movies, and why you shouldn't just throw out TV as a medium to tell these stories.
Yeah.
Like, that guy, I can't wait to see that guy in Man of Tomorrow. And I haven't even seen him as Green Lantern yet. He hasn't done anything as Green Lantern. Yeah. I'm already like, man, like, sign me up for Aaron Pierre's Green Lantern. So yeah, I'm all in. Again, we've only seen one episode. I thought it was great. I'm sure we'll dive more into it, but I thought this was awesome.
Sham, your thoughts on the first episode of Lanterns?
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was great. What a great pilot. No wonder.
Read that script. Gunn read that script and was like, "Yeah, we're doing this."
Gunn was like, "Yeah, we're doing this. We're definitely doing this." A lot of Watchmen vibes. Makes me wonder if that's why Lindelof was either added or whatever. I don't know how that process went, but definitely a lot of Watchmen vibes. Yeah, no, it worked. This works very, very well. Chandler and Pierre, the chemistry is just A+, A+ chemistry there. Aaron Pierre is great. He is great as John Stewart. And Chandler is Hal Jordan. Is also great. Very, very fun. Very, very fun character. Fun Hal Jordan. It kind of fits the kind of older vibe. I see what they were going with now with the kind of mentor-mentee. There was a lot of skepticism. I'm like, do we want to see this? Is that what I want to see in my Green Lantern show? But it actually works really well.
It works.
It's because of how their personalities play off of each other.
And even the story, how they're playing it into the story when they start you off with the flashback.
Yeah.
And
then the time,
even this only taking place in 2016. Like, this isn't even Superman time. Like, that, I think, was what we were initially like, what? Like, we got Hal Jordan is 60 in the Justice League, and this doesn't make any sense. Like, but John Stewart's young. Like, I mean, this John Stewart, the one we're following, is 10 years before Man of Tomorrow. Right, so, like, again, I hadn't considered that as a possibility, but it makes sense.
Yeah, there were a lot of, like, swerve times in the show, and that was one of them. I was like, 2016, okay. The wheel started turning on what was going on with this show and why it was making sense to them, why they greenlit it.
And again, they chose not to tell. Like, I don't know what they said, in the press tour of this leading up to it, but, like, they weren't super loud about, this thing takes place in 2016, and you get to see the rise of John Stewart as Green Lantern. Like, they were very quiet. They were just like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Western True Detective HBO Lantern.
But it speaks to the strength, though, of letting shows, like, do their thing. Like, I guess we've gotten so into, like, wanting to know everything about a story before it even gets told. Whether it's to scoopers.
Again, Watchmen's another example, man.
Scoopers, whether it's
nothing about it.
Reporters or, actual reports or whatever. It's like, sometimes you gotta let the shows be their shows. And, it's tough with the first trailer. We all clowned how terrible the first trailer was. This is a show that just might not have been conducive to having a good trailer. Like, if I'm being real, like,
especially if you didn't want to spoil stuff.
Yeah, given the source material and given that you didn't want to spoil things, this might not have been the show to have, like, a great first trailer, but it didn't mean it couldn't be a great show.
And what's also, to me, similar to Watchmen is how well they're able to keep the show hyper grounded, which, look, everybody saw the trailer and was kind of worried, like, we got a Green Lantern show and the suit looks old and rusty, and they're not doing anything. They're barely using the power ring, and they're, it just looks like the most low budget Green Lantern thing. They're out of space. Like, what is this? But they're able to do it grounded, but still feel like it's in the world of DC, and it doesn't feel like they're trying to like. It doesn't feel like they're like, ashamed of being a superhero show or ashamed of being a comic book, in a comic book universe. Like they're very, they gave the whole lore of the Abin Sur, Hal Jordan, transition and origin.
Yep.
And, again, it's just Hal Jordan's backstory in general and all this different stuff. Obviously, talked a lot about the Guardians of Oa and all that. Like, I'm interested how this show plays if you're not a superhero fan or a comic book fan. Like, you don't. Some of this stuff is like, again, the Abin Sur stuff. Like, I'm like, I was like, oh man, this is, it's like, so somebody had a tweet. There was like Hal Jordan explaining how he got the ring. It was The Rock doing the goosebumps. But if you're not, I'm curious how some of that stuff plays. But again, it's a very grounded show, so it doesn't have to like, be about all the space battles and, crazy, ring constructs and all this other stuff. Like, it's very grounded in the sense. And Watchmen was very similar. Like, Watchmen is also very grounded, very real, very gritty, but at the same time, you got Dr. Manhattan walking around. You're like, this is the same show. This is happening in the same universe.
Yeah.
And did you guys see the look ahead to the future week?
I missed it. I totally forgot.
I missed it. I didn't
realize.
Yeah, I didn't even think about watching it. Yeah.
So I would say don't watch it. I watched it. I'm like, I kind of wish.
Yeah, I heard it kind of showed a lot. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna watch.
They show quite a bit. It's pretty long. But
I'm not watching.
No, I can't wait. Yeah, no, I would say don't even watch the show. I'm already sold on the show. I didn't need to see anything else. Yeah.
I mean, what did you guys think of the twist at the end with Hal Jordan having apparently died? And that's how they're promoting it. They're promoting it as if he's dead.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I mean, I think Hal Jordan dying. I will say, like, that was another twist that was like kind of smart, because when they cast Hal Jordan as a 60-year-old Kyle Chandler, like, we all were like, Kyle Chandler's playing Hal. Well, he's dead. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
They're casting a 60-year-old Kyle Chandler to be in, like, Man of Tomorrow. I mean, this is a one-off HBO thing. And they didn't drag it on. And again, there's probably going to be some hijinks and some twists. And I don't think that I don't think they're going to play it totally straight. But they didn't save this for episode 8 or episode 9, or if this is 10 episodes. Like, they got it out of the way. I know all you guys think Al Jordan's probably going to die. Here he is. Yeah, he's dead. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
And now again, this is where there's probably
like, as soon as they show 2016, I'm like, okay, Hal Jordan's definitely dead. I was just surprised it was the first episode we learned that, but
and they do a good job with like the de-aging or whatever they do.
Yeah, that was interesting as well too.
Yeah,
how they played that. I mean, look, the scenes, the scene of him in the interrogation scene with the alien. I mean, that's that was superhero television scene.
Great acting. Great writing.
Yeah.
I mean, the Barack Hussein Obama line is like, that's like gonna go down in the history of the pantheon of great superhero written lines. Being like, you're a man from Nebraska, you have no opinion on Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, perfect. And it's so well delivered. Kyle Chandler.
Like, you drove 2 hours to see this game. Just because you're just a ball fan.
Yeah, 2 hours. You're from Nebraska. You're from Nebraska. Tell me, I think even him going down who the leading rusher in 1970 was like, oh, this guy's an alien, because no human would know that.
Yeah, the people homies really know that. Yeah.
Even if you're a Nebraska fan, like, that doesn't make any sense. I saw somebody even point out, like, it's funny how, like, they were able to, who knows if it's intentional or not, but them tying in so much of his football stuff and high school football stuff with Kyle Chandler being the Friday Night Lights guy is also was a funny twist as well.
Yeah.
There's stuff about Stewart being the backup quarterback,
yeah.
Right.
There's so many kind of little things there.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I Pierre, I'm curious to see how Pierre's performance continues because again, he's very stoic right now. But as the story goes on, and he's gonna have to be a lot more in the forefront. I really enjoyed him. I agree with Kendall. Like I want to see him more. Can't wait to see him the Man of Tomorrow now. Like again, there's a lot of crow to be eaten. Like a lot of us were unsure, especially after the first trailer about what the show's gonna be like. But Damon Lindelof, he's just so he's a very smart showrunner. And when he was hired, I think a lot of us, I think everybody on this show was like, well, listen, if it's Lindelof, I'm definitely gonna watch after what we saw with Watchmen. And those some of you guys may have watched Lost. James Gunn may have like saved his own bacon. I agree with with
And this
hiring
is
Lindelof and believing in his vision for this because this is a bold vision, but that first episode definitely has people seated.
yeah, and this is like James Gunn, the vision that James Gunn sold at DC, which frankly again seems to be kind of collapsing from underneath him, around
Yeah,
this show. But this is the vision that James Gunn sold at its best. This idea that we're gonna let filmmakers do their own thing, directors kind of do their own thing. Not everything's gonna look the same in DC. Everything we tell is gonna have a purpose and a vision towards it. It's not gonna be random and sloppy. Again, Supergirl kind of felt like the worst case scenario of whatever they were trying to do with that. And, we heard about interference from the studio and the director wasn't allowed to do his own thing. And that was kind of a sloppy job that they did with Supergirl. But this is like, again, best case scenario for how this could have played out. And we'll see how the rest of the show plays. A lot of the reviewers that have seen it have said it's great. So I don't really expect it to get any worse. But yeah, I mean, again, I tip my cap to Lindelof. I tip my cap to James Gunn for putting this out there, and also again being um, being patient themselves because they could have came out and been like, "No, trust us, guys." Like this is they did a little bit of damage control, but like they were fairly muted and like we'll just let the show. We'll let show's coming out, so we'll let it speak for itself.
I do think it was funny though. I do think it was funny that like James Gunn ran right back to Threads as soon as this show came out. He'd be quiet.
Like, he was
bro,
yeah,
be
like
quiet.
he had nothing to say about Waller being canceled. What did
He
he say about Paradise Lost?
He didn't have a lot to say recently. But someone that posted on talking about this show, they said, as an Elseworld story, the first episode of Lantern is way better than the conceit of a True Detective meets DCU show. That said, and along with Supergirl, Creature Commandos, and the upcoming Clayface movie, I can't comprehend this slate towards building a shared narrative universe. Now James Gunn's in the replies. He's back. Again, this guy was in everybody's replies for months. And then Supergirl bombed and you couldn't find this guy. Now he's back because he feels good about himself again. And he says, and he responded saying, in the same way DC Comics have, certainly the DC works of Alan Moore, Darwin Cook, Grant Morrison, Jack Kirby, Paul Dini, and Tom King can't be considered of one tone. Excuse me, for me and others raised on DC Comics, a huge part of the fun was enjoying a variety of stories in various genres and seeing inventive ways these tones interacted and interwove. Excuse me, for some of the authors, notably Moore and Morrison and Tom King in Strange Adventures, the tonal interweaving became part of the stories themselves. So that's Kendall's point talking about this is the world that James Gunn envisioned when he started the DCU.
It's clear that Tom King is a advisor, right, to whatever they're doing at DC.
Yeah, I mean he's a co-creator of the show.
Yeah, he's a co-creator of the show. Of course, they greenlit. They did the Supergirl thing. I believe he's also doing the Miracle thing. I think that's him as well. It's just funny. I sent you guys that Incredibles bit, and I don't know if it's a coincidence how like all the stuff that's actually come out basically has been Tom King stuff. Everything else has been canned. It's been frankly, but I think again, best part of the vision, right? Best case scenario for the vision is like, yes, what we talked about when you're like, you have a comic book guy that's in the head in the creative and is helping you craft some of these stories. And like this show could have been good without a comic book fan potentially, but like again, some of some of the lines about Hal Jordan's, the tragedy of his father, or like the Abin
Yep.
Sur, or in some of these things that get thrown in there, or maybe things that get ignored in other things, right?
Right.
In other movies, like, I was talking to our brother Henry, about, I think we were talking about Magneto, and like, we were talking about, do you got to keep the Holocaust origin and all that, and like, could Marvel, because one of the rumors out there is like, oh, maybe Marvel's just gonna, they're not gonna do that, and they'll just have generic mutant persecution will be the origin of Magneto instead of the Holocaust. And I was like, look, I mean, in certain cases, they've proven, some of these superhero things have proven that, yeah, we can, move on from certain parts of the origin or not talk about
Right.
them. But like, do you lose something, right? Do you lose something if you don't do that specific? Because all these little things have meaning in these people's backstories. Magneto's origin being the Holocaust and not just generic mutant persecution makes him different than every other mutant, right? Is why Magneto is birthed. It's not just as simple
Yeah.
as, because at that point anybody could have been Magneto. Same thing with
Because for him,
Batman.
it's like he's living the Holocaust consistently.
Right, he's already seen it happen.
Right.
He's like,
Exactly,
never,
yeah.
and this, never again. He says it in X-Men '97.
Right.
But like, again, the Wayne's dying, right, and Bruce doing. You could, in theory, be like, oh yeah, Batman just had another tragedy or something different happen, and yeah, he becomes Batman. Or, Uncle Ben. Like, we frankly don't know in Spider-Man if Uncle Ben died, or if what happened with that whole deal, or, and is that, again, they've still gotten to a certain place where he's still Spider-Man, but do you lose a little bit by not doing the same origin? So again, this show,
Right.
like, when you have a guy like Tom King involved so heavily, it helps to tether to the source material more and better, and not have those oversights. Well, we don't need to do the Hal Jordan's dad was a test pilot that died tragically. Or we don't need Abin Sur. That's a stupid concept.
Who cares about that? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we can change that, right? Nobody will notice. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you could, but now all of a sudden you're getting further and further away from this guy actually being Hal Jordan. And right now, again,
Right.
this Kyle Chandler character has been great.
No, he's been phenomenal. The show's been good, man. I'm gonna continue watching. I know we're gonna continue to watch, and I can't wait to see what they do next with Lanterns. But that's gonna do it for this edition of Hero Talk. One day you got someone checking us out, of course. Check out all of our shows on New Generation Podcast Network. Just search New Generation Podcast Network where you get podcasts. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel, New Generation Media. Follow us on social media. You can find us on New Generation Podcast on Instagram, New Generation Pod on X. Follow us individually on social media. You can find me, EJ_Stewart on X, actually EJ on Instagram and TikTok, EJ205 Prep on Buzzer. Kendall can be found on X, New Gen Ken, and Shamar can be found on Instagram on Snapchat, MCSham22. That'll do it for now. Thank you guys so much for checking this out. For Shamari, Kendall, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.